Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Tanavalabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Tanavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Tanavalabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. I'm so happy to be with all of you today at this wonderful, wonderful place. So we're reading the Srimad, well, it comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, but also Krishna book, and it's chapter 14, prayers offered by Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna. So let's start with our prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sadvadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Vadam Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So of course it is also the first day of the month of Kartik. So in hearing anything about the Lord, the benefit that we attain is multiplied by 1,000 times, not even just 10 or 11 or 20 times, but 1,000 times multiplied. And at the end, we read a benediction that by hearing this, well, maybe I'll save it for the end, but there's a great benediction we receive in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, and especially this one. There's a special benediction that we receive from hearing. So let's try to hear attentively and understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying to us. So prayers offered by Lord Brahma to Lord Krishna. So last week we were hearing from Surabhi about how Lord Brahma steals the cows and he steals the cowherd boys. And then Krishna says, okay, that's not a problem. And he multiplies himself to become just like each and every one of them with all of their individual characteristics. And then Lord Brahma, he is gone just for a few minutes. And then he comes back and he sees, oh, wait, what happened? I've stolen them and here they are. They're all here, just as they were. And he becomes bewildered and he can understand that, oh, actually, this is what Krishna has done. And he understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I thought, here's this little cowherd boy. Who does he even think he is? What does he even think he is doing, playing with his friends like this? Let's see how strong he really is. Let me test him. And then he becomes bewildered and he realizes his mistake. So he comes to Krishna and he pays his obeisances, and then he offers this whole chapter full of prayers, and it's so amazing because it's long. He doesn't have, there isn't really an end to the amount Krishna can be glorified, and here we see just a small drop of that glorification. And we can also see in Brahma Samhita how Lord Brahma, he glorifies the Lord, and then here there's more glorification, and I'm sure elsewhere in other universes there's even more. There are many Lord Brahmas from many different universes, and I'm sure they are all glorifying the Lord infinitely. Okay, so let us begin with the prayers that Lord Brahma now offers to Lord Krishna after having realized his mistake and after having realized who Krishna actually is. So Brahma said, "My dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, I am offering my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. Your bodily features are the color of clouds filled with water. You are glittering with a silver electric aura emanating from your yellow garments. Let me offer my respectful repeated obeisances unto the son of Maharajananda, who is standing before me with conch shell earrings and a peacock feather on his head. His face is beautiful. He is wearing a helmet and is garlanded by forest flowers, and he stands with a morsel of food in his hand. He is decorated with a cane, a buffalo horn, bugle, and a flute. He stands before me with small lotus feet." Isn't it amazing that we can actually get a full picture of what Krishna looks like, down to what details or what ornaments he's adorned with? All of the details are there. Just from reading these two paragraphs, we understand what Krishna looks like. This little cowherd boy who is also the Supreme Lord, we know what he wears. We understand what earrings he wears, the kind of garland he would wear, forest flower garland, and how his garments are emanating with this electric aura, it says. It's such a wonderful description of the Lord. And then Lord Rama goes on to say, "My dear Lord, people may say that I am the master of all Vedic knowledge, and I am supposed to be the creator of this universe. But it has been proved now that I cannot understand you, who are present before me just like a child. You are playing with your boyfriends and calves, which might imply that you do not even have sufficient education. You are appearing just like a village boy, carrying your food in your hand and searching for your calves. And yet there is so much difference between your body and mine that I cannot estimate the potency of your body, as I have already stated in the Brahma Samhita. Your body is not material." So Lord Brahma, he is actually the presiding deity of intelligence. And yet, even he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even he becomes bewildered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what to speak of us, whose bodies are made of ignorance currently? His body is made of intelligence, and still he cannot understand the Lord. He's becoming bewildered. So what to speak of us? And he does actually mention this later. He says, what to speak of others? How is it possible to understand you? And then he goes on to explain that your appearance as a cowherd child is for the benefit of the devotees. And although I have committed an offense at your lotus feet by stealing away your boys and calves, I can understand that you have bestowed your mercy upon me. This shows your transcendental quality of being very affectionate toward your devotees. But in spite of your great affection for me, I cannot estimate the potency of your bodily activities. It is to be understood that when I, Lord Brahma, the Supreme Personality of this universe, cannot estimate the childlike body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then what to speak of others? And if I cannot estimate the spiritual potency of your childlike body, then what can I understand about your transcendental pastimes? Because we have heard again and again how Krishna's pastimes are non-different from his name, are non-different from his body. He is the absolute truth. So everything is contained within his name, everything is contained within his body. So if we cannot understand any one of those, it means we don't understand any of those. Therefore, as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, anyone who can understand a little of the transcendental pastimes, appearance and disappearance of the Lord, becomes immediately eligible to enter into the kingdom of God after quitting the material body. So that's mercy. Even if we understand a little, because it's impossible to understand him completely in his entirety, but even if we just understand a little, a fraction of who he is, then we're eligible to actually associate with him. He gives us that. That's amazing. And then he says that people should not try to understand you by their speculative knowledge. So we shouldn't guess, oh, I think he is like that, and I have a feeling he might be like this. No, that's not proper. But rather, it's explained here, Lord Rama says we should either just rely on reading the Bhagavad Gita and other literatures. So the Bhagavad Gita, this is the Lord speaking directly to us. Then we can understand him by hearing directly from him, and also by hearing from a realized devotee who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. This is the proper way to try and understand the Lord, not by guessing, not by speculating. And then we start with the theoretical understanding of who Krishna is, that he's a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. Then we theoretically understand we are his eternal servant, and we are not these bodies, we're a part and parcel of him, we're a spirit soul. And then that theoretical knowledge, as we continue to practice, starts to become realized. It starts to become lived within our daily experience. Like when you're hungry and you honor prasadam, no one has to tell you, okay, you are satisfied, you've had prasadam. You have the feeling of being satisfied after being so hungry after a long day and not having anything. Like Janmashtami, if some of you are fasting, you are so hungry, and then finally you get to honor that prasadam, and you know, okay, I'm satisfied. So similarly, that realized knowledge, it's not that someone has to tell you, you have realized this. It's something that you experience within yourself, and it's not something that has to be spoken. And then Lord Brahma goes on to say that one does not even need to change his worldly position. He simply has to hear your message. Although you are not understandable by the material senses, simply by hearing about you, one can gradually conquer the nescience of misunderstanding. So, by sensory experience and by speculative understanding, we cannot really grasp who is Krishna and how we can actually love Krishna. That's not the method of understanding. But there is a way to engage our senses so that we can realize him, and that's by hearing about him. devotee sees Krishna through their ears because he's contained within the Maha Mantra, and gradually will rise to the position of understanding who he is. But then he also says, by your own grace only, you become revealed to a devotee. You are unconquerable by any other means. So although we may try to hear, and we must try, ultimately our progress will only be due to the grace of the Lord. So this is also the month where we will hear about the pastime where Mother Yashoda is binding baby Krishna with her rope, and she just can't seem to do it because no matter what, it's always 2 fingers too short. And those 2 fingers are representing endeavor and mercy. So the devotee, although trying and trying and trying, has to receive the mercy of the Lord to conquer the Lord. And then eventually she does conquer Krishna with her love and is able to tie the rope. She's able to join the 2 pieces, the 2 ends, and she has tried, the endeavor was there, and she received Krishna's mercy. But we see that our 2 fingers, well, one is longer than the other one. So which one is the longer one, endeavor or the mercy? Which one is longer? Mercy. This one. Mercy. So although we try, ultimately we need Krishna's mercy. To be able to try in the first place is Krishna's mercy. To be able to be given the opportunity to try, that is Krishna's mercy. So it starts with Krishna's mercy, and he carries us with his mercy the whole way through until the very end, where he gives us his mercy to go back home to Godhead. But all of it's Krishna's mercy. And we seem to be trying, and we must try, but that trying is carried by Krishna's mercy. We're nothing without mercy. And then he explains, Lord Brahma he explains that actually it's like beating an empty grain of husk, trying to understand the Lord with your speculative knowledge, trying to guess at what he might be like. It's useless labor, he says. It's just completely useless. So if you do grind a husk to get rice, you can actually do that. But then if it's empty, obviously you won't be getting anything. So if you're guessing, I think Krishna's like that, and I don't know, but I think I must be here and there with Krishna, and it must be like that, then that's like trying to get rice out of an empty husk. It's just useless. You're not going to get anything from that. And then Lord Brahma goes on to say that there are many instances in the history of human society where a person, after failing to achieve the transcendental platform, engaged himself in devotional service with his body, mind, and words, and thus attained the highest perfectional state of entering into your abode. So there are many instances, and maybe even for ourselves also we have seen, maybe we have tried many different ways to come close to the Lord. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. But if we, for example, maybe in previous lives, went to the Himalayan forest and we tried to engage in severe austerities to realize the absolute truth, or maybe we, in this life, or maybe also previous lives, try to do some yoga, some stretching exercises, maybe some ashtanga, to try and achieve complete realization of the absolute truth, we'll find that we're not really able to achieve it very easily. It's not a process that, especially in this age, is recommended, because we're not even advanced enough to try that. So we may have found that we weren't able to make a lot of progress practicing that, because austerity in itself, or yoga in itself, not yoga within bhakti, actually linking with the Lord, but I mean yoga stretching, right? Like, the exercise that people think is yoga today, that in itself will not bring us to the platform of loving Krishna. And then after having realized this in our own lives, or maybe other people have realized this within their own lives, after that, then they will try to engage. If they're serious in coming close, then they'll try to engage in devotional service. But even us, wherever we may be doing something that looks like devotional service, but ultimately it always comes down to what consciousness we're doing it in. So we could do something that looks like devotional service, but within our hearts it's actually not, because we're not really engaging our hearts and our consciousness in the service of the Lord. Like, for example, we could be going on book distribution thinking, I'm going to be the greatest in the world, and that's why I'm doing this. And that's not really devotional service. Or you could be offering puja to the deity thinking, everyone will see me and I will become a famous pujari. It may be mixed. So that's not really devotional service. Or on the other hand, you could be thinking, I am a servant of the Lord. I've been asked to do this service, to distribute books, to offer puja to the deities, and here I am trying to do this for the Lord, for my spiritual master, in service of the devotees. And then that becomes devotional service. But it's a matter of consciousness. It's not really the activity of what we're doing. It may look like devotional service, but what's in our hearts, what's in our consciousness may not be there. Whereas on the other hand, someone could be a lawyer working outside, and it may look like it's not devotional service, but it could be. Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a great exalted devotee, and there's no doubt that whatever he did was devotional service. And he was a lawyer, and he was a good lawyer. So it's not really the activity as much as it's the consciousness, it's where the heart and where the mind is engaged. And in that way we engage our mind, body, and words in the service of the Lord, in whatever service we're doing, remembering that our body, minds, and words belong to the Lord and must be engaged in the service, whatever we may be doing. And then again, Lord Brahma just is emphasizing that the process of understanding you by speculation or mystic meditation is useless without devotional service. And he says one should therefore engage himself in your devotional service even in his worldly activities, and one should always keep himself near you by the process of hearing and chanting your transcendental glories. So this is how we stay close to the Lord, by always hearing and chanting his glories. Simply by being attached to hearing and chanting your glories, one can attain the highest perfectional stage of entering into your kingdom. If a person therefore always keeps in touch with you by hearing and chanting your glories, and offers the results of his work for your satisfaction only, he very easily and happily attains entrance into your supreme abode. So Lord Brahma makes it sound very easy to go back to Godhead. He says it's very easily and happily he will just go back to Godhead if he just keeps in touch with you by hearing and chanting. So easy. Just always keep in touch, and happily and easily you will go back. But the way we need to always be able to keep in touch is by associating with those who are always in touch, because we may sometimes lose touch, and then just like sometimes maybe we can dance in the kirtan, but maybe we just don't want to, and we're standing at the back and we think, no, I'm not going to dance in the kirtan, I refuse. And then someone pulls you into the kirtan and you say, wow, this is amazing, what a kirtan. So sometimes we need someone to pull us into the kirtan. Sometimes we have to acknowledge we need association to stay in touch. So Lord Brahma is saying we have to stay in touch with the holy name, with hearing and chanting, in order to achieve the supreme abode. But we need each other to do that. We can't do that on our own. We can't go into the mountains thinking, I will stay in touch on my own. Goodbye. No. We need each other. We need the association of the devotees to stay inspired. We need to be pushed a little sometimes. We need chastisement from our spiritual masters. We need to be able to stay on track. We need that. And then very easily and happily we can go back to Godhead. And then Lord Brahma goes on to say, he glorifies the Lord by saying that the Lord is all-pervading and nothing is existing without his knowledge, and that the mind, it tends to wander over various subject matter of sense gratification. That's what he actually says, it is the business of the mind. So it's not just a tendency, actually, this is what the mind does. This is how it's designed. it's designed to wander over sense gratification or matters of sense gratification. And then he says, but the only way to really engage the senses, the mind, in service and to transcend that is to always fix the mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. And I was hearing a class by Srila Prabhupada on the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he was saying that when we come in front of the deity of the Lord, we should be looking at the feet of the Lord and try to remember his feet. When we leave the temple, you should remember his lotus feet, how they looked. And then gradually you'll start to actually remember the Lord. And then Lord Brahma says, this concentration of the mind upon the lotus feet of the Lord is called samadhi. And until one reaches the stage of samadhi or trance, he cannot understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There may be some philosophers or scientists who study the cosmic nature from atom to atom, and they may be so advanced that they can count the atomic composition of the cosmic atmosphere or all of the planets and the stars in the sky, but still, even if they could understand all of that, they won't be able to understand the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So no amount of material knowledge, no amount of scientific knowledge, no amount of speculation, no amount of using the senses to try and understand the Lord, apart from hearing and chanting, apart from associating with the devotees, and in that way coming closer to Him, we can't actually even begin to understand the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Lord Brahma explains how... Okay, this is Srila Prabhupada's purport now, actually. He's saying that he's saying that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the origin of all qualities, so He's called Nirguna. And Nirguna means whose qualities are beyond estimation. And Mayavadi philosophers or impersonalists, they tend to think that this word Nirguna means having no qualities, and that means the Lord has no qualities, which isn't actually the case, but rather it means that His qualities are beyond our understanding, that He's the origin of all qualities, and all qualities are constantly emanating from Him. And we might try to guess His qualities or estimate His qualities in one moment, but in the next moment those qualities would have increased, so it's not really possible to limit His qualities or to try and understand His qualities in a limited way. So He's called Nirguna. And then Srila Prabhupada explains that one should simply understand that the distress and happiness of this body are predestined, and there is no need to try and avoid the distress of this bodily existence or to attempt to achieve happiness by different types of exercises. The best course is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead with body, mind, and words, and always be engaged in His service. This transcendental labor is fruitful, but other attempts to understand the absolute truth are never successful. Therefore, an intelligent man does not try to understand the absolute truth by speculative or mystic power. Rather, he engages in devotional service and depends on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knows that whatever may happen to this body is due to his past fruit of activities. If one lives such a simple life in devotional service, then automatically he inherits the transcendental abode of the Lord. So Madhurya and I were thinking of this question a few times, I think. How do we know if it's Krishna who is directly interfering in a devotee's life, or is it just karma? Is it the agents of karma playing out their role? How do we distinguish between those two in our lives? Well, ultimately, we were thinking about it quite a bit. Ultimately, the agents of karma also are Krishna the origin of karma also is Krishna. The whole system of karma comes from Krishna. So ultimately, it's always Krishna. And of course, for a devotee who is surrendering, he steps in a little more. Krishna steps in a little more. And well, someone answered that for me. One devotee who I asked, and he said that actually it's whether it is Krishna directly or the agents of Krishna, it won't change your role within the picture. Your role is to surrender. Whether it is Krishna or the agents of Krishna, it's all the origin of Krishna, and whoever it may be, still you have to just surrender. That's all you have to do. So I thought that was quite a nice answer. And yeah, you can see devotees like Srila Prabhupada and even my Guru Maharaj, when I read his journal, because my Guru Maharaj has a lot of health difficulties, but he always says that I must just accept this as Krishna's mercy. It's my past misdeeds, because of my past misdeeds, I am receiving these reactions, and I have to just accept them and continue with my services as best I can. Now, of course, for devotees like them, because of their bhajan, their pure bhajan, they don't really have reactions from past misdeeds. They may have reactions from disciples who are not behaving properly, but it's not really their past misdeeds. And in their case, it may also, it's Krishna directly deciding that they should receive certain ailments or certain difficulties, which also then helps those who are following to understand that the ailments of the body are not an impediment. If Srila Prabhupada flew around the world and had absolutely no material difficulty whatsoever, we would think there's no hope for us. We all have so many difficulties. In many ways, the body, it's designed to give us problems. It's going to give us problems, and we would think we won't make it. And even in looking at our own spiritual masters, if their lives were completely perfect, we would think we can't do this because we're just having so many difficulties. But they do suffer. Not that they're affected by it, but in their consciousness, but their bodies, they do have ailments, they have difficulties, they appear to. So we can understand just by observing these personalities that is not an impediment to devotional service. Again, it's just a matter of consciousness. It's not so much your circumstances, because those circumstances are all ultimately meant anyway to bring you closer. Even if it is the ailment or whatever it may be, it's meant to bring you closer. It's not meant to be an impediment. Krishna is arranging things in such a way so that your situation is perfect for you to come back. And then he says something very interesting here and very wonderful. Each has the natural right to inherit and share the transcendental pleasures of the Lord, but due to the contact of matter, conditioned living entities have been practically disinherited. So it's our natural inheritance to be able to associate with the Lord. That's natural. We should receive that. By nature, we're meant to receive that. But we have become practically disinherited by choice. We have decided to disinherit. We become disinherited. And then he says that if we simply adopt the method of engaging ourselves in devotional service, then again we become freed from material contamination and elevated to the transcendental position of associating with the Supreme Lord. So to get that inheritance back, which we naturally should have, all we have to do is engage in devotional service. We may also wonder, why did Lord Brahma steal the calves and cowherd boys? Even after seeing Krishna just a little boy and maybe wanting to test his power, it's explained here, he also wanted to examine the wonder of his personal power. And he wanted to see how the Lord would recover them. So he had curiosity as well. It wasn't just that he wanted to test Krishna. He was curious. How would he actually come and fetch them, how would he respond to what I'm going to do? He had some curiosity as well. And then he's realizing that he's actually just being presumptuous, that he's attempting to test his energy in front of the person who is the origin of all energy. And then Prabhupada gives this comparison. It's like the scientists who invent all these wonderful atomic weapons which can create so much destruction in this world. But if you test that on the sun, then it's completely insignificant. So it's like Lord Brahma, who is this very powerful person, coming to test the Supreme Lord, who is the origin of all power, and he is completely insignificant in the face of the Supreme Lord. And then Prabhupada explains that Lord Brahma addresses Krishna as Achyuta, which means infallible. And that's because the Lord never forgets even a little bit of service rendered by his devotee. So he is so kind and so affectionate towards his devotee that even a little bit of service is accepted by him as a great deal. So even though we may do something very small, he accepts it as being very wonderful, very big. He's very pleased. And then Prabhupada says that actually Lord Brahma, he has rendered a lot of service to the Lord, and Lord Krishna is certainly pleased by him. But then Lord Brahma, he made a mistake and he became puffed up, and it was natural for him to have committed this mistake by trying to test the Lord, and then he's asking to be forgiven for that mistake. So we also have a tendency to become puffed up very easily. And there's a nice example given of how there's a king, and then on the king there's a little fly or a little mosquito sitting on his knee, and then so many people are coming and they're paying obeisances to the king and they're glorifying the king, and this little mosquito is thinking, yes, that is me, they're all coming to bow to me, I am so wonderful. We are like that, but actually any opulence we may have, it's very insignificant, but whatever it may be, it all comes from the Lord. It's not even ours. We possess nothing apart from what he has given us. So we also have a tendency to become puffed up, but we should realize that Krishna is actually the Lord of all opulences, and we have no reason to become proud at all. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, he was the temple president, and Prabhupada detected a lot of pride in him, so he said, but there's just one temple president here on the planet Earth where there are so many temple presidents, and planet Earth is just a tiny planet within this whole universe. Oh, and then he zoomed out more, and then there are other universes too, and there are thousands and thousands of temple presidents, and you think you are so important. And he just squished the pride that he saw there. So we tend to become forgetful of our actual position. I mean, even Lord Brahma appears to have done that. So what to speak of us? And then Srila Prabhupada just explains more about how gigantic and huge this universe is, and how it can be measured, just like how we can measure our body as being, he says, 7 spans of our hands. He's saying that this universe can be measured by Lord Brahma as being just a few spans. But then he's saying, but that few spans is just the one universe, and then there are unlimited universes, so it's actually very small. It's not significant, and he's just pointing that out. And then he speaks about how Mahavishnu is emanating all of these universes, but Mahavishnu is also just a part of the plenary expansion of Krishna. So again, he's just emphasizing how small and insignificant we all are. And he says, although Lord Brahma is the supreme creature within this universe, what is his importance in the presence of Lord Krishna? And then Lord Brahma, he compares himself to being like a child within the womb of his mother, just like how the child will kick and push inside the womb of the mother, But the mother, she doesn't become offended thinking, oh no, why is this child doing that? She forgives the child naturally. So Lord Brahma, he is like that within, he's the child of the Lord, and he is throwing a little tantrum thinking he's all powerful and he can do what he likes, and he's asking to be forgiven naturally, that the mother, the fatherly figure will naturally forgive. And he does see himself as being the child of the Lord, who is called Narayan here. And Narayan has two different meanings, because Narayan means the resting place of all the living entities after the dissolution of the universe. And Narayan means also the source of knowledge. And because Lord Brahma is being born from him, he sees the Narayan is also being his mother, like his mother. And so he's asking to be forgiven from Lord Narayan. Okay, and then Srila Prabhupada just goes on to speak more about Karnadakashayi Vishnu and Garbhodakashayi Vishnu and Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So he's explaining how the living creature tends to forget his past life and live in forgetfulness. But the Lord, as the super soul within the heart, he is reminding us to act according to our past desires. And then Lord Brahma speaks as follows. He says, "This gigantic universal form is another manifestation of your energy. On account of his resting of the water, this universal form is also Narayan. And we are all within the womb of this Narayan form. I see your different Narayan forms everywhere. I can see you on the water, and I can feel you within my heart. And I can also see you before me now. You are the original Narayan." So he establishes the position of the Lord as Narayan, as Mahavishnu, Karnadakashayi Vishnu, who is emanating all of these universes, and then into each and every universe there is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, as the super soul of the universe. And then Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, from him there is a lotus flower that comes from his navel, and there Lord Brahma sits upon the lotus flower, and he receives instruction, and he is creating the whole universe, but that's all under the guidance of the Lord. So he's being born from the Lord in every way, and creating everything just from the instruction of the Lord himself. And then into each and every one of our hearts, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu is entering, the super soul is entering and guiding us towards doing that which we had the desire to do from previous lives. And then he says, "My dear Lord, in this incarnation you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. You remain within the cosmic manifestation, and yet the whole creation is within you. This fact has already been proved by you when you exhibited the whole universal creation within your mouth before your mother, Yashoda." So he actually reveals this universal form to Mother Yashoda, and there's the picture. She looks into his mouth and she sees the universe. And then again, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna reveals his universal form, which is slightly different to how he revealed it to Mother Yashoda. But in the case of Mother Yashoda, he made sure Yogamaya covered her afterwards so that she wouldn't think that this little boy, this baby, my baby, is actually the Supreme Lord. He didn't want her to think that. Whereas with Arjuna, he wanted to make that clear, that he was actually the Supreme Lord, and Arjuna did maintain that remembrance. And then it's quite interesting how Lord Brahma starts to explain how there are so many incarnations of the Lord, and yet he doesn't actually appear or disappear. He says, you have no appearance and no disappearance, but you are always eternal. And he says, your appearance and disappearance are made possible by your inconceivable energy, just to give protection to the faithful devotees and to annihilate the faithless demons. And Krishna, he is so attractive that he even attracts the demons. So he attracts the devotees and the demons. He attracts the devotees and pleases the devotees and allows them to participate in his pastimes. And then he also attracts the demons to him so that they can be annihilated by him. And then he says that it's described in the Vedic literature that even if the complete is taken away from the complete, the supreme absolute truth, it remains the complete supreme absolute truth. So even though Krishna is expanding himself in so many ways, even here in this pastime where he is expanding himself to look just like the cowherd boys, the complete is not reduced in any way. He remains the complete. Even if the complete were to be taken out of the complete, he is always going to remain the complete. So there's no end to the Supreme Lord being complete. And even when he decides to be the son of his mother or the servant of his devotee, that doesn't reduce him in any way, but rather it's just him reciprocating with his devotees, the love of his devotees. And here he is described as the original Amrita, the indestructible nectar of immortality, who has no birth or death. And then Lord Brahma, he explains that people who in this material world, they will be living in fear if they do not understand that this material world is also coming from him, that he has actually created it, we are a part and parcel of him. And it's described as when you see a snake, then naturally you'll be afraid. But when you realize that actually the snake is just a rope, then there is no more fear. The fear completely vanishes. So although we may be living in this world, when we realize that this world is illusory, then there's no fear. There's no fear. We are not these bodies. This world is just a temporary place. Then immediately there is no fear. We see, oh, the snake is just a rope. We were illusioned. It's not real. It comes from him, but it's not actually, and it's not actually lasting. It's not actually our true destination. And then he says, if one realizes that you are the ultimate goal of understanding, he need no longer fear this material existence. But we can also see that anything that is in existence that is beautiful or wonderful, and the material world is, it's because it comes from him. But he is the substance of life within everything. So anything in this material world that is alive, that is wonderful, that is only because it's a part and parcel of him. And then we ran out of time, so I'll just skip to somewhere around the end, because it is a lot of glorification, of course, from Lord Brahma. There's a lot to be said about how he glorifies him and what Srila Prabhupada says about that as well. Just one point I thought was quite sweet, that when Lord Brahma returns the cows and the cowherd boys, then the boys they're saying to Krishna, "Oh Krishna," they don't know that Krishna had replaced them with expansions and that they were gone. They had no idea. So they thought the whole time within that 1 year, they were right there on the bank of Yamuna with Krishna. They had no idea what happened. And they thought that Krishna was just gone for 1 minute. And they said, "Oh, Krishna, you came back so quickly," when Krishna returned with the cows. They were so happy to see him. And I thought this was quite amazing because when we read about this, there's no mention of the cowherd boys thinking, but why does it look a little different around here? Or maybe, why is my preparation that my mom gave me today a little different from what I was having just a minute ago? They're not questioning anything. And I'm sure Krishna must have been wearing different ornaments, and them also, they must have been wearing different ornaments and different clothes. They're not thinking that at all. They're oblivious. They're just thinking, there is Krishna. They're just completely focused on Krishna that they don't even think about their own selves. And the cowherd boys are so sweet how they relate to Krishna, because when they go home, they don't want to part from him. So he actually goes with them in such a way that no one else can see, but they are with Krishna. And then at home they say, "Mom, Dad, Krishna's here. You can't just feed me, you have to feed him too." So then the parents say, "Okay," and they put 2 plates down, thinking they're just playing a game. Krishna's not really here. And then they see that everything from the other plate is disappearing by itself, because Krishna is actually there with the cowherd boys, because they love him that much. So here we're seeing how they're not questioning anything. They're not speculating. They're just accepting that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is their dear friend, and they just want to be with him. And I just want to read then the benediction that we get from having heard even just a little from this wonderful glorification of the Supreme Lord and all of his expansions, and how he is always complete and completely perfect, and how even just that little service we render to him is so dear to him. Okay, let me just find that. Oh, and then another point also I just wanted to mention was how Lord Brahma, he asks to be excused. He says, "Please accept my obeisances and my apologies, and I'm going to leave immediately." And then after that, he still gives some more glorification. It's like he doesn't really want to stop glorifying the Lord. And then he pays obeisances and leaves. So he doesn't just abruptly leave, but he actually wants to glorify the Lord even more. I thought that was quite sweet. And then we'll end with that benediction if we can find it. Here it is. Okay, so anyone who hears, recites, or chants the transcendental subject matters of the Lord is surely going to have all of his spiritual desires fulfilled. Thus Krishna's childhood pastimes, his sporting with Balaram and the cowherd boys in Vrindavan were described. So all of our spiritual desires will be fulfilled just from hearing these pastimes. All we have to do is sit and hear, and all of our spiritual desires will be fulfilled, especially within this month of Kartik. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande.